little appropriate for those young women who came and went, to those in need and to the lowly. Contemporary society did not accept this disturbing and novel venture, but in Gaillac, certain people supported the sisters, like Eugénie de Guérin, who wrote in 1833, "When someone asked what order owned the convent, a wit replied, 'At the moment it's still a disorder.' But I hope some people speak well of it."
With the rapid development of this first community, Emilie extended the foundation house by building a chapel. It was here she would go to draw inspiration from God and to receive from Him the strength and daring she needed. In 1834, Emilie submitted the first constitutions of the Gaillac house to her bishop, Monseigneur de Goily. She placed it under the protection of Saint Joseph and gave it his name. To the name Saint Joseph, she added, "of the Apparition," and commissioned a painting representing the apparition of the angel to Saint Joseph. For Emilie, this painting illustrated Matthew's text, "Do not fear, Joseph, to take Mary home, since she has conceived what is in her by the Holy Spirit."
Saint Joseph accepted to be the silent intermediary, with characteristic humility, a silent but active intermediary of the incarnation of the Son of God. Saint Emilie wished for her sisters to follow his example of a simple life without show, but a life in which daily actions would be colored, as it were, by the contemplation of the love of Jesus, who gave his life to save all people.
Emilie had a great attraction for overseas missions. From the age of 18 onwards, she went regularly to St. John's Church to honor the missionary St. Francis Xavier. So, when her brother Augustin, on mission in Algeria, appealed to his sister to come to the aid of the victims of cholera, she did not hesitate to give a positive response.
It was the age when many were involved in opening up or discovering new territories in the spirit of the conqueror. However, that was not how Emilie answered her brother's call. Rather, she placed herself truly at the service of the deprived people, to educate, to take care of the poorest. There wasn't a hint of proselytism, but the message was passed on. She only wanted to show God's love. One day, a Bedouin said to her, as he pointed to the crucifix she was wearing, "He who makes you do these things is good." The sisters were to stay 8 years in Algeria. Everything went very well, and they were highly esteemed by the people until the day when Rome decided to send a bishop to Algeria. The first was Bishop Dupuche, and with him difficulties began, difficulties of understanding, such that Emilie was obliged to leave Algeria and withdraw her sisters.
On her return to Gaillac, more disillusion awaited Emilie. The management of her affairs, confided to unscrupulous men, dragged her into long lawsuits. Stripped of all her property, she had to leave Gaillac to establish her headquarters in Toulouse, and this in utter destitution and misery. Did not stop her generosity. Certain that God manifests himself through events, she discerned the will of God and responded to calls. Missions were started: Tunisia, Italy, Cyprus, Malta, Burma, Palestine, and so on. Emilie did not hesitate to send 19-year-old professed off to those distant lands.
Providence is always the first to manifest itself in my affairs. I am happy just to follow. I leave the care and placing of the sisters where the Lord pleases. I have never asked for a mission, and all our foundations are the result of a series of circumstances. After those 5 years in Toulouse, Emilie transferred her mother house to Marseille in 1852. She was welcomed by Bishop de Mazenot, a missionary who understood her. He would be a great support for her. She was 55, and at last would be able peacefully to lay the last foundations of her institute, to confirm her sisters in the spirit of the congregation, and to work at expanding her work by new foundations, especially around the Mediterranean and in newly explored territories like Australia.
On the 24th of August 1856, in the evening, Emilie de Vialar passed peacefully away. Her death the result of a hernia, contracted as an adolescent, while dragging a sack of flour for her poor on the terrace of her paternal home. "The saint is dead," cried the local people in consternation. She was to be canonized by Pope Pius XII on the 24th of June 1951. Today, on the 5 continents, more than 1,000 sisters of St. Joseph continue to devote themselves to the service of their neighbor, according to the desire of Emilie. More and more they're being joined by lay people, collaborators, partners, associates who actively participate in this service.
For the relief of the unfortunate, the care of the sick and the poor, the education of children, for all works of charity, we shall continue to devote our strength, our wealth, our future, and even our very life in